As we move into week 5 of the course, this is the second part of the course, which is really I think I've titled it in the course outline, The Meaning of Mortality. So we know we sort of shifted focus from looking at some fairly narrow but interesting, I would say, and important questions about death itself to looking at a more wide ranging subject, which is the meaning of mortality. And mortality and death, that should be a distinction that's familiar to you, at least by now. That is the distinction between the event of death, the phenomenon of death itself, and the state of being the kind of creature that knows, or being the kind of creature that will die, that can and will die, which is really what we're exploring now is what does it mean to be mortal? Jonas gave us some interesting ideas. Gray goes into the ideas of other people, basically, Heidegger and Jaspers, these two German philosophers of his time who did their most important work in the first half of the 20th century. And it's a different sort of thing. It's not completely different. Some of the ideas are similar to the ideas that Jonas has, but it is a very different sort of thing. And as you'll see, the place of death within existentialism as a whole is a very privileged central place. The notion of mortality that's being dealt with here is different from Jonas's, obviously, insofar as it is human mortality. That is the exclusive interest of Gray and Jaspers and Heidegger. Jonas was really a philosopher of biology, primarily, in the last essay, insofar as he was talking about the phenomenon of death within nature itself, not just the importance of death to human beings, whereas this is very much more anthropocentric. It's really about being a human, mortal creature, and the place that our consciousness of death has within the structure of human existence and the importance of it. The most dramatic idea, as I think you'll see, is the Heidegger idea that human existence can be characterized as essentially a being towards death. That is, at the very center of our notion of what it means to be a human being is death, is mortality, is the consciousness of death. So it's really quite an amazing little essay and quite an amazing idea to be introduced to. And I should say that this idea of Heidegger's of human existence as a being towards death is an important one to keep in mind. Just to let you know, in part 3 of the course, the second thing we'll read will be Paul Landsberg's The Experience of Death. And in some ways, Landsberg's essay, which is a long, wide-ranging essay, but in some ways it can be read as an attempt to refute Heidegger's idea that human existence is a being towards death. It is a really very Catholic view of death, a sort of modern Catholic view of the significance of death in human life, and it's a denial of Heidegger. So it's really good to keep in mind that Heideggerian idea as we move forward in the course.